Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? It's Patricia Hayes here with your Coffee Time Career Chat, and I am super excited, as always, to be joining you to talk about all things that affect our careers, our professions, our businesses in ways that we can, learn some things from and that we can carry forward. For those of you who are joining for the first time, once again, my name is Patricia Hayes. I am an executive advisor, career empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. And that means that I love helping professionals and business owners to up level themselves in their professions so that they can achieve their goals at the next level in a fully empowered way and make sure that they are leveraging their professional relationships in a significant and purposeful way that is authentic and brings value to them. So, all that said, we are finishing up National Career Development Month. And so we've been talking about topics that kind of relate, specifically to professional development and career development. We're always talking about that, but really and truly kind of niche down on that over the course of this month. So if you've missed the networking versions on Monday, I highly recommend that you go back and check those out. Today, we are finishing up literally the series about professional development, and we're going to talk about upgrading your learning and skill development in particular, because it seems like this is something that people do, but don't necessarily plan or think about. I presume that because I always did, and a lot of people that I hang out with or work with would. But I realized as I started getting more and more into coaching that everyone doesn't think that way, that most people are very responsive and, reactive as opposed to being strategic and thinking through some of those things. And so that's what I want to encourage you here today as you are ending this National Career Development Month, that you give some thought to what it is you're doing and how you're doing it. And one of the first things that I really want to point out to you is, there's so much stuff out there in the marketplace, right? There really, really is. Some of the things that I say may not be new to you, but maybe it finally strikes you in the right way, right? So that's why we continue to give and share experiences, because you never know when you will impact someone in the way that they need it. That said, the first thing that I want to warn you about is copycatting. I want you to get off of the copycat train and go for the innovative, the specialty, the thing that will help you to stand out in your with your gifts and your talents. What do I mean? So just because, high tech is the big thing and has been for years now, right? People will say, "Oh gosh, you need to just go into tech because there's so many opportunities there." But if you're an artist, if you're an artist, that may not be the thing for you. Or if you have problems answering your cell phone, that may not be the thing for you, right? And I know that's an extreme example, but it helps to for you to really give some thought to what is it that you're doing with your profession, your career, with your business that you're doing because somebody says, "Oh, this is the latest hottest thing, so you need to go do it." Right? As opposed to sticking with the gifts, the skills, the talents that you have and figuring out what the niche is, what the specialty is, how you can use those in innovative ways. Now, if you can mesh those things, more power to you. Like, great. But if it's not a good fit, don't get on the copycat train. It will not be beneficial to you. And if it is, it will be short lived because it's not authentic, because it's not, if it's not what you want to do or interested in long term. Now, if your sole goal is to make money, then get on the copycat train, right? There are people who do that. They go with the latest, hottest thing because that's literally what they do, right? They're able to turn on a dime, pick up, in a specialty area or in a new area, get what they can, pull out of it, and then go on to the next thing. But guess what? That's what they do, right? They're not being a copycat, they're being true to themselves. So that's what I want you to really think about. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when it comes to the skills and learning in particular. But I want to warn you about that because here's the thing, if you start investing in skill development in an area just because someone else is doing it, guess what? You are wasting your money, your company's money, your dollars, your time. Your time is so valuable. That is the one thing that you cannot get back. You can earn more money, but you cannot get more time. So, that said, this is why I want you to be very cautious and conscientious, excuse me, of when you are about to do something because everyone else is doing it. Even if it means you go against conventional wisdom and you're doing something that people are like, oh, well, that's old or that's not the next thing. But if it's still true to you, then go with that. And we'll talk about in a second about how to pivot and to shift along the way. But don't just jump on the bandwagon simply because it's there. All right. Okay. So the second thing is I want you to look for the gaps and how to fill them today. This is that piece where you can really start to identify what your skills are, what the things that you need to learn more about, but how you can fill gaps in your industry and the marketplace right now today with the skills that you have or are willing to develop further. Most people don't think about it this way. They think about it in terms of this is what my boss needs me to do. That's normally number one is I'm going to go to this um, uh, workshop, seminar, conference, whatever, because number one, the boss says I have to. Or number two, if I want, excuse me, if I want that promotion, then I have to go do this. Sometimes that's true, oftentimes it's not, right? It's what you do with the knowledge and the opportunities that you get that makes the difference, not just attending another workshop, right? That's the networking version. I talk about that a lot. I've done that where a whole series on maximizing your conference and workshop opportunities, okay? If you want more about that, let me know. Okay. So that said, where can you feel a gap? So it's always so heartening when you hear from people and their perceptions, because that's another thing is sometimes we kind of get all in our head and we don't really know the needs that we feel or don't recognize it because we're just really there all the time and we're just like, yeah, this is what I do. Okay. But it was so very heartening to me when my coach, we were talking about some different things, and she was like, "Yeah, I need for you to realize, like, what you do is I see you filling a niche and filling a gap that's not there. People talk about networking all the time, but no one trains people on how to do it. They talk about what to do, but not about training them how to do it, how to make really strong, authentic connections and build the relationships that they need to last. And that's a gap, and you're feeling that. And that was like, yay, right? That's a yay moment for me. And sometimes we need to get that from other people, not just a rah rah moment, but an honest assessment of where you are, where you fit in, or what people perceive as where you fit in. Go have a few of those conversations. I highly suggest it, right? When I start talking and following up with colleagues and they're like, yeah, this is so great. Or when I get the random, it happens, y'all. When I get the random message or DM to say, hey, I'm watching what you do and I think it's fantastic and it's been so helpful to me. And I get that from people who I didn't even know were still following me. Didn't know they were following me at all, much less still following me. Okay. So I want you to take that time. You know how I feel about reflection time. Step back and take a really hard but an honest look at what it is you do, what you bring to the table, and how can you fill gaps in your industry, in your marketplace right now, today, right? Not worrying about tomorrow or what's happening on the horizon. We'll talk about that in a second. And not saying, oh, this is what I used to do, because sometimes that may not be relevant, right? But you need to switch. So, or shift or pivot. So, what is it that you can do and feel right now today? And if that requires some support in terms of developing your skills, of getting some more technical knowledge, of getting some mentoring, or coaching, then take the action that you need to help you support yourself in your skill development so that you can fill that gap. All right. So you see, there's a layering to this, and it's really important that you think about it in those terms. The third point is to look ahead at what's on the horizon and prep ahead. All right. So this is where you kind of take a little bit of a look ahead. You go do your research. You're not doing this on a whim. All right. You're not doing this based on the conversations that you just had with your colleague, your best friend, the guy in the grocery store. Right. We're not basing this on that. Now, those conversations may may instigate some thought and where you need to follow up. That happens all the time where I've had a conversation with someone. I'm like, well, I wonder about that. Right? Or you read something, you're like, I wonder about that. Don't take anything at face value. That's what I'm saying. This is the time to really sit, take the time to go do some research, have some conversations, and in greater depth, right? Not surface ones. Because what you learn from these conversations, from the reading, from the research that you do, is you may decide to supplement your skills with a new skill or something that takes you into greater depth with what you're doing. Maybe it's a pivot, maybe it's the same type of skill or knowledge, but now you're going to pivot industries for it. And that's going to require some preparation. Okay. So this is where you do get to take a look at what's on the horizon, explore it, and decide if it's worth taking some further action on. Okay. I know that some years ago, I had someone locally who I respect greatly who kept telling me, "You're like, you really need to get in on this tech thing." Right. And I just had not been able to figure out how to make that work. So I didn't stress over it. And I still haven't, because I'm still massaging, still figuring it out. Because all around me in the area that I live, it's like everything's just booming, particularly when it comes to the tech industry. But I don't want to just insert myself into a field that may need some specialized knowledge that I don't have and or that I'm not willing to get, right? Yes, you're like, well, but you do coaching on networking, leadership, and connecting people. I'm like, yes, I do. But even then, there can be times where someone may expect you to have a greater depth or level of technical knowledge about a field or an industry, um, in order for you to make really good headway. I'm not saying use that as an excuse not to pursue it. Okay. Certainly, if you're willing to supplement, I'm not talking about going back and getting a master's degree in something. If that's what you feel, that's fine. But most of the time, it's not that. I always joke with people when they're like, oh, and it's like, oh, I wonder if I should go back to school to get X. And I'm like, I'll slap myself because I'm like, I have a JD. If I can't figure out what I need to do with this law degree, then it's not going to happen. That does not mean that I don't supplement my learning. I supplement my learning all the time. Okay. I do it with workshops. I attend conferences. I do my CLE, my continuing legal education for the legal aspects of it. But for the policy side, for the educational side, for the business side, I am always up leveling my skills by taking on additional learning opportunities and building from there. Okay. I'm about to embark on some two new, major projects that I've been wanting to work on. And guess what? It's going to require me digging deep in some fields that I don't necessarily have expertise in. So I need to learn some more about them so that I can accomplish these goals the way that I want to. All right. So there's always room for gaining additional knowledge. Sometimes it's to supplement and strengthen what you're doing, not to replace it. Okay. And so those are the distinctions you need to make. Even as you're moving forward, even as you're saying, I wonder, if this is a field, let's say, well, let's stick with my tech, my tech story. If that's something I really need to move into, I keep an eye on it, right? I haven't decided that I'm specifically moving into that area or trying to figure that out. However, I read articles, I stay up to date on what's going on in the area, and just keeping my eyes and ears open so that if and when I decide to pivot, I'm not scrambling to get up to speed on the issues. I'm aware, and now it's time to dig deeper. Okay, so those are the things I want you to think about as you're looking to decide what you're going to upgrade as far as your learning and skill development, and making sure this is a bonus. It's not on my list, but you must be willing to invest in your own development. I cannot say that enough. You must be if you really want to grow. And people will say, oh, well, but my company won't pay for that. And are you going to be at that company for the next 10, 15, 20 years? Because probably not, because that is not how our society runs anymore. Rarely is anyone staying at some place for that length of time, particularly in this intellectual idea economy that we have. And people, professionals, whatever, are moving around. People are working independently, remotely, freelancing, all kinds of things. So what you're doing today may not be what you're doing in 5 years, or you may not be doing it in the same way or with the same company. What do you need to do in order to make sure that you stay on track to achieve your goals, not your company's goals? Now, if you're able to leverage where you work and their professional development budget to make things happen, do it. I did. Absolutely. I would absolutely look at what things I was able to attend that my organizations that I worked for at the time would pay for it, because they meshed, right? And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll pay for that. But there were times where like, we're not going to pay for that. We don't, we don't see a direct benefit, or that's not in our budget. Okay, fine. Like my leadership development programs that I did, and I did several of them. I'm almost positive all of them I paid for out of my own pocket. Yeah. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I've done at least three. Um, and two, I was working for an organization. I was working for some organization when I was part, and the third one I was working for myself. So that said, now, in the end, did it bring value to them? Absolutely, because the relationships, the connections that I made, I was able to tap into on behalf of my organizations. However, at that time, they were like, no, no, but it brought value to me. So, what may not bring value, or that your company or your organization may not see as bringing value to them, does not mean it won't bring value to you. So this is why I have to, and I always encourage, and or if you're working with me one on one, I am like hardcore. Separate your company, your organization's needs from your own. They are not always the same, and you need to address both. Okay. And sometimes, in order to address both, you have to be willing to invest in your own development. How? Yes, you got to pay for that class. Yes, you got to pay for that coaching. Yes, you have to pay for that conference yourself and take off, vacation time to do it. I've done all of those things. Okay. So those are the things I want you to think about. And as we are entering the holiday season here in the US with Thanksgiving week, wherever you are, I want to wish you a great week. I also want you to join in and check out some of my great coaching opportunities, templates, and strategies, and a workshop or two that I am making available for Black Friday um, uh, investment opportunities. These are opportunities for you to invest low cost investments on content that I have shared over the course of the year, on templates and processes and things like that that I've shared, that I've packaged up for you to be able to get, so that you can have them ready for moving into the next year. And as well as a winter workshop, winter retreat that's going to be coming up here in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So, super excited about all of that. Go check it all out at the link in my bio, or everything's going to be up and ready to go starting tomorrow. That will be Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, up on the website, patriciavhayes.com. So I look forward to seeing you. If you need me, you know where to find me. Have a fantastic week, and I'll chat with you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.